Okay guys, got another workout for you this week. What we're looking at this week is a couple of exercises which you could either do each exercise one after the other in a bit of a circuit form, or the other option you've got this week is to do each exercise on its own and do 2 or 3, maybe even 4 sets of each exercise. So the choice is up to you whether you want to do one exercise followed after the other, or do that each individual exercise, get it over and done with before moving on to the next exercise. Today we're going to look mainly at a modified version of each exercise. So these exercises can be made more difficult, and I'll explain that, how you can do that as we go along. But for today we're going to mainly utilise a modified or an easier form of each exercise. What you'll need for today, if you want it, is perhaps a step. I've got the mats set up here today. If you've got a bit of a low deck or something like that, something nice and stable, pretty much 1 square metre or thereabouts is enough space to utilise. If you want, you can also use a little bit of a weight for today's exercise, or some of our exercises today. Obviously I'll use my kettlebells, but if you have any kind of weight, whether it be a plate weight, kettlebell, maybe even a brick or a log, that's entirely up to you, so long as you've got something that is safe to use when we're using these exercises. And as we're doing these exercises, you'll see what I mean by needing something that is safe. So what I would recommend today in terms of the work that we do, don't limit yourself to a set number of repetitions. Today, work until you kind of feel that you've had enough. So each set that you do, push to that point where you're not feeling like you're going to the point of failure, but you're getting to that point where you kind of go, yeah, I've had enough. This is it, I need to have a rest. Rest as you need to, give yourself maybe a minute or 2 to rest between each set that you do. Like I said before, you might want to pause the video and then do another couple of sets of each exercise, or even just pause the video, have a bit of a rest before moving on to the next exercise that we have today. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, our first exercise today is going to be the deck squat. I'm going to use a kettlebell to give me a little bit of resistance. It is a modified workout that I'm doing today, so I am going to use the elevation of the mats here. Like I said before, you could use a low deck or anything that's nice and stable and safe. You could also do this from the ground. You don't need to have that elevation. If you want that extra challenge, doing this from the ground is a really good exercise to do. Like I said, we're going to go until we're done. We're not going to set a set number of repetitions, we're just going to keep going until we need to have a rest. So you can follow along, pop whatever music you need in the background as we're doing this, and let's go. Some of these exercises you might find are a little bit easy. It just means that you do a lot more repetitions of that exercise before you reach that point of needing a rest. If you're doing this from the ground, you might want to throw the legs up, give you that little bit of extra momentum to help you come to a standing position. I don't need that so much with the step, so I won't do that today. If you've taken the option of using a weight, it may be that what gives out first is your arms and shoulders holding that weight before your legs and abdominals give out. So what you can do in that case, drop the weight and keep going. Don't have any music playing in the background. If you've got some favourite music you want to have playing away, feel free to put that on. I don't want to breach any YouTube copyright laws by having any music in the background. So I'll just work with the sound of the wind in the trees. Starting to wear out now, so I'm going to go for 5 more. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there you have it, guys. That's our deck squat. Like I say, if you want to pause the video now, do a couple more sets before moving on to the next exercise. Otherwise, have a break for a minute or 2 and then we'll get into the next exercise. Okay guys, moving on from our deck squats, we're going to look at some dips. For this, if you don't have a specific dip set up at home, a couple of stable chairs or stools like I've got here will be really good to use. Please make sure they are safe. Make sure you can put enough pressure on them without them wanting to tip over. In terms of positioning them, what I like to look at is standing, comfortable stance, and bring them together so that they're just outside of my legs there. That way I know that when I go to do my dips, my hands are in a good position and I'm not too far out here trying to get my dips. But what we're going to do today is either have your feet out in front, nice straight legs, or if you want to make it just that little bit easier and safer for yourself, bring your feet in under your hips that little bit more, so that as you lower and bring yourself up, if you feel that you need that support of your feet on that last couple of reps, you've got that there. So again, like we did with the deck squats, we're just going to keep going until we're done. We're not going to set ourselves a limit in terms of number of repetitions. We're just going to keep going till we need a rest. So ready? Let's go. Again, if you want to make this more difficult for yourself, guys, you can take your feet off the ground completely if you've got the room to do so. Probably won't work so much if you've got some low chairs, but that will make this a little more difficult for you. Could also try one foot crossed over the other. But today's a modified workout, so I'm going to go both feet on the floor. Whoa, getting difficult now, so only a few reps left. So there we have it, guys. That's our dips. So again, you can pause the video, do a couple more sets of that, or have a little bit of a break and we'll move on to the next exercise. Okay, so our next exercise is a mountain climber. So a couple of options for here that you might have. First one is, if you want to make it that little bit more difficult for yourself, a quick switch of the feet. If you want a slightly easier version, a modified version, step one foot up, step the other foot up. One at a time. So for this one, I'm not going to go the modified version, I'm going to go the more difficult version. But again, keep working till you're done. Don't set yourself a time limit or any number of repetitions. Just keep working until you need to have that rest. Just make sure you stop before you fall in the heap on the floor though. Okay, let's go. There we have it. That's our mountain climbers, guys. Again, pause the video, have a rest before either moving on or doing another couple of sets. Okay guys, we're going to look at a knee to elbow. Two options for this. One, we can do this from a plank position, or we can do this from our back. So if doing this from the back, what you're going to look at is a little bit of a crunch. Coming up, bringing your elbow across to your opposite knee. That's the easier version. If you want to go for something a little more difficult, we can do this from a plank position. So today I'm going to do this from the plank position. So if you're ready, we'll start. If you want, you can look to reach further with the elbow rather than bring the knee all the way up. Your arms will probably be tired from those dips that we did earlier. That's our knee to elbow. We're nearly there, guys. We've got one more exercise to go. And it's one of my favourites. So grab a quick drink, bit of a rest, a couple more sets of that if you wish, before moving on to my favourite to finish. Okay guys, to finish off, we're going to do some Turkish Get Ups. One of my favourite exercises. Normally, doing this exercise, obviously I'd be using the kettlebells. Again, like I mentioned for the deck squats, any weight you can safely hold, you're welcome to use. You might even just want to use a drink bottle. But for an extra challenge, we can use a shoe. This is going to be more about balance and control rather than developing a lot of strength in our workout. This exercise is often an exercise utilised when teaching people or teaching personal trainers how to teach people how to do the Turkish Get Up. So what we're going to look at is making a fist and sitting our shoe on top of our fist and keeping that balanced through the entire exercise. I won't walk you through the finer details of the Turkish Get Up. Try and follow along. I know some of you that have worked with me in the past or recently have done Turkish Get Ups, and so you will be familiar with it. But again, on this one, I'm just going to go 5 on each side. I'm not going to keep going till exhaustion. This is going to be more about balance, and I do need a rest from doing Turkish Get Ups this week. So, our setup, starting on the ground. The side that we have our shoe, we want to keep that arm straight and start with our leg up on the same side. We're going to go to a bit of a sit up from here, lift the hips, bring our leg underneath, and standing up. Then the reverse, all the way back down. Try not to drop that shoe. And go for another 4. If you're using a weight, you might want to alternate sides with each repetition rather than just do 5 at a time. The shoe doesn't weigh too much, so I'll do about 5. Having said that, I've just lost count of how many I've done, so I'll do 1 more. And I'll change sides. It's always going to be a good side and a bad side, guys. Always look to the weight or to that shoe. Last one. So that was our Turkish get up, and that's our workout for this session done. So I hope you enjoy that, guys. If you've got any thoughts, suggestions or anything that you'd like me to look at, by all means make a comment on this video and I'll look to try and incorporate that into future videos. As of next week I will be looking to add a few extra videos to the channel, particularly giving you some ideas around technique and stuff with exercises, and looking at some things that you can utilise around the house to add a bit of resistance training into your training sessions. So until then, guys, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.